The estate tax in the United States is a tax on the transfer of the estate of a deceased person. The tax applies to property that is transferred via a will or according to state laws of intestacy. Other transfers that are subject to the tax can include those made through an intestate estate or trust, or the payment of certain life insurance benefits or financial account sums to beneficiaries. The estate tax is one part of the unified gift and estate tax system in the United States. The other part of the system, the gift tax, applies to transfers of property during a person's life. In addition to the federal estate tax, many states have enacted similar taxes. These taxes may be termed an inheritance tax. The tax is often the subject of political debate, and opponents of the estate tax call it the death tax. If an asset is left to a spouse or a federally recognized charity, the tax usually does not apply. In addition, up to a certain amount varying year by year can be given by an individual, before and or upon their death, without incurring federal gift or estate taxes. $5,340,000 for estates of persons dying in 2014, $5,430,000 for estates of persons dying in 2015, and $5,450,000 for estates of persons dying in 2016. Because of these exemptions, only the largest 0.2% of estates in the U.S. will have to pay any estate tax. Federal estate tax. The federal estate tax is imposed on the transfer of the taxable estate of every decedent who is a citizen or resident of the United States. The starting point in the calculation is the gross estate. Certain deductions from the gross estate are allowed to arrive at the taxable estate. The gross estate. The gross estate for federal estate tax purposes often includes more property than that included in the probate estate under the property laws of the state in which the decedent lived at the time of death. The gross estate, before the modifications, may be considered to be the value of all the property interests of the decedent at the time of death. To these interests are added the following property interests generally not owned by the decedent at the time of death: the value of property to the extent of an interest held by the surviving spouse as a dower or courtesy, the value of certain items of property in which the decedent had, at any time, made a transfer during the 3 years immediately preceding the date of death, that is, even if the property was no longer owned by the decedent on the date of death, other than certain gifts, and other than property sold for full value, the value of certain property transferred by the decedent before death for which the decedent retained a life estate, or retained certain powers, the value of certain property in which the recipient could, through ownership, have possession or enjoyment only by surviving the decedent, the value of certain property in which the decedent retained a reversionary interest, the value of which exceeded 5% of the value of the property, the value of certain property transferred by the decedent before death where the transfer was revocable, the value of certain annuities, the value of certain jointly owned property, such as assets passing by operation of law or survivorship, that is joint tenants with rights of survivorship or tenants by the entirety, with special rules for assets owned jointly by spouses, the value of certain powers of appointment, the amount of proceeds of certain life insurance policies. The above list of modifications is not comprehensive. As noted above, life insurance benefits may be included in the gross estate, even though the proceeds arguably were not owned by the decedent and were never received by the decedent. Life insurance proceeds are generally included in the gross estate if the benefits are payable to the estate, or if the decedent was the owner of the life insurance policy or had any incidents of ownership over the life insurance policy, such as the power to change the beneficiary designation. Similarly, bank accounts or other financial instruments which are payable on death or transfer on death are usually included in the taxable estate, even though such assets are not subject to the probate process under state law.